Media Saturdays. Oops, I hope I'm logged in as me and not you.
Yeah, you.
All right. Great morning. Great morning, superstars. How is everyone doing out there this morning? This is your host of Social Media Saturdays, Taria Hodge, and I am super excited this morning because I have none other than the Mindset Mastery mentor, Suzan Hart, and we are going to have an amazing conversation this morning, and we're talking about don't get caught standing still. Okay. And and let me tell you, what I absolutely love is to, have the opportunity to work very closely with Suzanne. And, in working with Suzanne, we always have these wonderful conversations. And today our conversation is going to be about like what's going on. Right. We're noticing a lot of trends. We're in a lot of conversations with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people who are beginning their entrepreneurship journey. And also, we are now in conversation with more people who are at home. So it doesn't always have to be about a business conversation, right? So the thought behind of today's broadcast is what are some of the things that you are doing, that will help you move forward. And before you start to think about what could help you move forward, what are some of the things, right, that has you stuck? Because I realized that too, right? Some people are like really standing still. It's like, what happens when fear shows up? How do you handle, how do you manage your fear? And how do you turn it around so it will allow you to move forward? Okay. So I am out here. I am looking to see if I could see who is out there and watching us this morning. So if you are out there, you're tuning in to Social Media Saturdays, do me a favor, drop a line into the comment section and let me know. Taria, Suzanne, we are here and we are watching this morning. And I see that Nisi Croft is out there this morning. Great morning, Nisi Croft. How are you? I see that Charette is out there this morning. Great morning, Charette. And I see Cindy is out there, and Cindy is telling me she loves the red. Thank you so much, Cindy. Cindy, I am taking when I tell you all of your style tips. I don't know, Suzanne, if you knew that Cindy is keeping me in line. Be
She
on
can't
track.
help herself. So I'm sure she is. She's been keeping me in line for years.
She's keeping me on track and she's making me quite aware, right, of my branding and how I show up. And I just absolutely, absolutely love it. So great morning, Cindy. Thank you so much for jumping in and joining us this morning. And so before we get started with our conversation, like you guys could tell, I'm super excited. I'm jumping all over the place. But before we get started, let's do things like how we normally do it in true Social Media Saturdays fashion. So first of all, I want to know where my superstars are watching from. Charette says, hi, Suzanne. So I want to know where my superstars are watching from. So if you can, please do me a favor, take a minute into the comment section down below. Just drop a line and let me know what city and state you are watching from. So if you are on the continental US, okay, just let me know, Taria. We are joining you from, whatever city and state. Now, what I love about it is we have superstars all over the world. We have superstars that jump in and join us from Japan. We have superstars that join us from Italy, from South Africa, from Australia. So if you are around the world, just let me know, okay, what country you are watching from this morning. And then last but not least, I can't leave out my Caribbean family. So if you are hailing from an island nation, go ahead and just let me know what island nation you are hailing from and just drop it into the comment section. Okay, so just let us know where you are tuning in from this morning. And then also, I'm going to ask everyone to, take a minute to share who they serve and how they serve in their business. So this is something that I ask every single time we do a show. And the reason why I like to ask that question is because always floored and always amazed by all of the virtual networking that happens here at Social Media Saturdays. Okay. And so this is an excellent opportunity for you to virtually network. But here's the thing, we don't know who you serve, or we won't know who you serve and how you serve unless you tell us. So you have to tell us. Okay. So do me a favor, drop into the comment section, let us know who you serve in your business and then how you serve in your business. And then last but not least, put a link to where we can connect with you. So whether that's your Facebook business page, or if you don't have a Facebook business page and you have your website and you're directing traffic to your website, go ahead and drop in the comment section where we could connect with you. And let me tell you guys, like I said, it's so amazing because I get the phone calls all the time. So I can't tell you that there's not a week that goes by that someone doesn't reach out to me and they said, "Hey, Taria, it was so awesome that you're doing the show, and I had the opportunity to connect with this person because they were on the broadcast, and now we are on to doing great things together." Okay. And so that's one of the things that I absolutely love about the community. All my superstars, come together to do lots of great things, collaborate. Okay. So once again, we won't know what it is you do unless you tell us. Okay. So don't forget, take a minute to do that. And then last but not least, I'm just going to ask you to take a moment and share the broadcast out this morning. Like I said, it's going to be an amazing, very powerful, very insightful conversation. I have none other than Suzan Hart, who is the Mindset Mastery Mentor. She's my Mindset Mastery Mentor. I'm absolutely loving the work that we're doing, together. And I just thought it would be fitting to, with everything that's going on, right, to bring Suzanne on and to just have a conversation. And today we're talking about not getting caught standing still. So, how many of you, who are out there feel like at this moment, right, like you're standing still? And these are the things that I'm hearing, Suzanne, right? I'm
Mhm.
hearing people telling me that, I feel that there's so much more that I should be doing, but I don't know what to do. Okay. I'm getting some interesting things. I'm looking at other people who are standing still because they're kind of stuck in the comparison mode, right? And they're comparing themselves. They're watching, like, now everyone is home, right? And there's a lot of stuff that's going on social media. And sometimes if you're not careful, you can get caught up in that, right? And it seems like everybody else is moving and then you're standing still. And then what that does is kind of, paralyzes you a little bit more. So, these are the conversations,
Yeah,
okay, that
absolutely.
I've been hearing. And so, take a minute, Suzanne, to share. First of all, what are some of the things that you've been hearing out there?
Well, I think similar to you, one of the common ones I'm hearing is people are just going to wait it out.
Mm,
Right? They're going to wait till things get back to normal, and it's a common kind of thing to think to do. Well, I'm just going to wait it out. Things will be back to normal, and then I'll jump back in. The sad thing, this is not. There isn't going to be a back to normal.
mm,
There is going to be a new normal, and it's up to each one of us to figure out how we are going to participate, shift, change, grow for the new normal. So that's the first one I'm hearing. I,
okay.
I, think, I think there's a lot of fear, and fear shows up in some interesting ways. So there'll be those people that will freeze, right? They'll do nothing. There'll be those people that will fight, and they're the busy people. They haven't stopped yet. They are busy, 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 doing, but they're actually not producing, right? Fear is phonetic. Do. And there's those, and then there's the people that have just got their head in the sand,
Mm,
and they're avoiding. They're like, I'm not looking. I'm not looking at anything. So there's those sorts of people, and there's people who are in denial. That I wrote a few things down, right? And then there's people who are in total flight,
yeah.
and they're just, they might be flight as they're watching TV, they're doing different things, but there's all these reactions that are going on to what's happening, but it is a natural response to change because change has us feel out of control.
Yeah.
It has us feel like someone, I always say it's like someone took you and tossed you outside your comfort zone. Like they picked you up and literally just tossed you. And you're like, where'd I land? Cold water, pool by myself. Where'd everybody go? What happened? I didn't ask for this. And so that's the thing that we want to just get present to is that change is occurring and emotional responses to change are normal.
Yeah, and I think that that's so great that you mentioned that because that's a thought that occurred to me, right? And I was just like, oh my gosh, coming through this, I think that's the first thing. The first thing is it is a change. And what do we, historically know, traditionally know? Like people really don't readily embrace change.
Absolutely.
Okay. And change could sometimes be so uncomfortable. And I think the big part of it is because, like you said, there's a whole unknown out there. Okay, so it's changing. We really don't know, what the change is going to look like, what's on the other side. And one of the things that I recently became present to within myself is when things are changing or when things are not normal for me, how my mind just runs ahead. Okay, and then
Mm-hmm.
create all of these scenarios in our head because we are trying to figure it out, right? And we're trying to, I like to say it this way, I'm trying to, figure out like which scenario would kind of best suit me.
So I call that Tria so and anyone who works with me will know, yep, that's what she's gonna say. So you run ahead into the land of worry.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now there's a difference between intentionally going ahead into the land of vision, but most
Mm,
people run into the land of worry. So let me make the distinction. So
wow.
we are storytelling, meaning making machines. We make things up. And the reason we make things up is when we feel we can't predict what's happening now in the present, we start writing a story. And unfortunately, we relate to the story as it is real. So we run into the future, which
Mm,
hasn't happened yet, just so we're clear. Hasn't happened. You don't know if it's going to happen, but we run into the future, we write a story, and then we live into it as if it's real and it raises our anxiety. And usually those stories, when it's worry based, is what if I run out of money? What if all the jobs go? What if the government runs out of money? What if? We run into the land of worry. The land of worry is usually negative, and the land of worry is usually all the things that you cannot control that you're worried about. Because see, the thing is, we're not worried about what we can control. We're worried about what we can't control. So that's what you're going to worry about. If you go into the future, into vision is a whole other thing. And I know we're going to get to this later on. Vision is, given that this is where I am today, let me cast a vision of two things. What I want to see happen for me that's amazing, and who do I need to become in order to get there? That's visioning. And visioning, what's so cool about visioning and so perfect for this situation is visioning usually throws you way outside your comfort zone, which you already are right now. So it throws you out there, but it also makes you be bigger than you're accustomed to being. And so it's a two different things. So people go in and they run into worry, but worry is not a productive thing. Whereas you can cast a vision into the future and say, okay, I'm going to be intentional about what's going to occur in my world as this occurs. And I'm going to be intentional about who I'm going to be and who I'm going to become. So two very different types, ways of being. But
yeah.
this is the thing that allows it to happen. It is, one is, who are you in the present? Who you're choosing to be right now is going to decide whether you run forward and worry or whether you run forward and cast a vision. So this is the difference. It's like the cup half empty, cup half full person. So
Mm,
there are people in the world right now and their cup is half empty. They are watching negative news. They're tweeting and posting all the negative news. They're tracking every death, every this, every that. They're putting their own anxiety into the world, right? And what they're focusing on is all that's wrong, scary, bad, unpredictable about this.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we focus on always grows and expands. And if you don't believe that, think of the last time you had your own personal pity party and
Right.
you picked up the phone and you called your girl and she said, "Girl, I know." And then she joined your pity party, right? And then,
Right.
then a,
Said, hold on, let me call somebody else to join
right?
in.
And a friend dropped by. You guys broke out wine and food. And isn't it like, girl, let's go shopping, let's go eat, pity party, pity party, pity party. Then it becomes a pity cluster. It grows, right? That's what some people are doing. The people who have the cup half full, they're looking at the same situation. And I want you to get this. They're looking at the same world. And it doesn't matter. It's not about the money they have. It's not about the opportunities, the jobs, whatever. It's the lens to which in this moment they're looking at the world. So they're looking at the same world and they're saying, okay, but what's good about this? And you know, I had Haley Patry and I interviewed her and she was not a great interview. And she
I was
said,
just thinking the same thing. Haley did such a wonderful job.
right? So she said, well, there are parents who are home with their kids.
Mm-hmm.
There are families who haven't been able to spend time together and they're together, right? There are people who are getting rest for the first time. There's all these positive things. There are people who are birthing amazing ideas. There are people who have had answers to their prayers because they wanted to resign from their job and kind of God made that happen, right?
Yeah.
Boom, you've been resigned. And they now have the perfect opportunity to focus on different things. So the same situation is, are you taking the cup half full view? Are you taking the cup half empty? But we're all kind of sitting in the same thing. The event is very similar. I'm not going to say it's identical because our circumstances will make it a little bit different, but the event is the same. There is a virus that we cannot see, that we feel like we have no control over. That is the thing that created the effect in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
So what I wanted to share, one of the things that Haley shared that I thought was so amazing, and you just mentioned it again, consider that all things are perfect.
My
Okay.
favorite
And
line.
yeah, when I heard Haley say that, I just like initially perfect, like how could this be perfect, right? And then when she went in to break it down, it was so amazing. Consider, first of all, it's the perfect opportunity for us as people to do better. So look at all the things that we've neglected, things that we know we should be doing, we haven't been doing, right? This is your opportunity, right? To get better. Look at the relationships that have been neglected. Okay, this is the opportunity to, work on those relationships. The other day, I just had like such a big gratitude moment, Suzanne. I looked around my house, like, so I'm still working. Okay, my parents are retired. My one daughter has baby, and my son and my other daughter, right? So they're home from work, okay? And I looked around and it dawned on me like, oh my gosh, we are all home,
Yeah.
right? And not just all home on the island, right? We are all in the same house at the same time. And I just kind of like had to sit in that moment for a second, kind of slide the computer over to the side and just take it all in. I saw my mom and my daughter, well, actually, it was my mom, my daughter, and my son in the middle of the living room. They had a conga line going. And then normally I'll be like, guys, I'm trying to work, I'm trying to focus, right? And I just had to sit in gratitude and just be like, wow, take it all in and just be like, yes, perfect. Like everything, is just in alignment. So
Let's break that down for a moment, because Haley and I, we talk about this a lot, and it's a statement that we both use. And so, because I'll tell people that's how I talk to myself. So what if, Suzanne, what if this is all perfect? But you want to break down why one would say that, right? So I could live in struggle and resistance, or I can live in acceptance of what is. So this is how I look at it. And I want to make a distinction for everybody listening, because this will probably help you really get this. So most people are saying that things out there are now out of control, right? Is that not a common statement?
Yeah.
Oh my God, things are so out of control right now. And truly, when you really think about it, are they really? So this is what I want people to really think about, is everything out there has always been beyond your control. Always, right? Because I can't control what happens out there. But and I want you to get this distinction, because if you get this distinction, you are able to take power back. And this is what people are looking for. Where is my power? So if you get that, you've never had control over the bank rates. You've never had control over the government. You've never had control over the traffic. You've never had control over whether your boss keeps his doors open or not. You've never had control of whether they keep you on or not. None of us have had control over these things. What they have been, however, is predictable. The world has been predictable. You can predict when traffic occurs. You can predict that there's a high likelihood that tomorrow when you go in, you'll have a job. You can predict these things. Trust me, I remember the day when I walked into work and they had all my belongings packed up in a box, and I was like, this was not predictable at all. Right? And it had nothing to do with what I did. It was just like they were done.
Yeah.
Right? Glowing reviews before, but they were just done. Not predictable. So part of it is, I really want you to understand that out there has never been within your control. It has been very predictable. So the predictability of the world has shifted. And why I want to make that distinction is because in all of this, the place where you have control has never changed. Right? And so when we get preoccupied in feeling I have no control out there, well, I want you to know you've never had control out there. But the one thing that you have control over has never, ever changed, and that's here. Yeah, so given that this person can be the constant in your life, we now get to go back to what question you asked, is how are you dealing with managing fear, anxiety, and predictability? Because you were managing it before. Only thing, you were comfortable because it was predictable. It's not like your skills went away. It's that the world seemed to have turned upside down and you're like, what? It takes a minute. But the person who's been managing the world out there is still here, right here. So now we get to choose powerfully, am I going to show up as the great manager of circumstances that I've always been? Now, this is what I'll say to you. You're going to grow to a new level of ability to manage. New level. Are you ready and open is the question.
I love that, because it's one of the things that you challenged me with, like back in February, right? And the question was, who do I have to become? Like, who am I becoming? Who am I growing into? Okay. And it's such a powerful question, for people to really start to ask themselves, like in every form, of their life, like, who are you becoming? Who are you growing into? And like you said, there are different ways that you could look at things, right? So you can look at it, you could get upset, you could get frustrated, or you whatever those negative scenarios are, Or you could choose, right, to really build up those muscles and move forward. So how are you coming through stronger? How are you coming through better? What are you growing into this during this situation? For a lot of us, like, we're growing into becoming more spiritually fulfilled, or spirituality, right, is
Mhm.
becoming stronger. Faith is becoming stronger. For some of us, our emotions, we're learning to become better at managing our emotions. Okay. So, like, are you the type of person, whenever you get the negative news, does it knock you off of your feet and it takes you days to recover? Or are you able, not to say that you don't feel anything, right? But are you able, to manage those emotions and still, push forward? I thought about it the other day. I said, boy, we're all getting so much stronger. Some of us are going to come out stronger physically because we are really, paying attention, right, to, once again, what we have to do, for our bodies,
Absolutely.
right? Coming through this situation. So who are you becoming, right? In all areas, not just one area, So I know social media Saturdays, we cater to entrepreneurs and business leaders, right? So I always talk all the time about things that we have to do in our business. But the thing is that I really want people to understand, like, if we don't take care of us, like, really and truly, there is no business.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because it's
There, there's,
foundational.
yeah, yeah.
It absolutely is foundational. And I think, what you're also speaking to is that this thing, I do mindset mastery, and this thing called mastery it is uh, a muscle.
Mm,
It is a skill set, if you will. It is something we intentionally are asked to learn and grow and be able to do.
yeah.
And so I'm inviting everyone to really take it on. And I'll give us a scenario just to kind of magnify it for a moment. So most people know, or maybe you don't, that my background's crisis,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And my background is non-intrusive crisis intervention. What that simply means is having the ability to de-escalate a situation with language and voice and tone.
mm,
Touch a person. I have no gun. I have none of that. It's just this right here, my body and my voice.
mm,
And so when I graduated from school, I had skills. And I want you guys to get this. I had skills. Everybody listening has skills. We rolled up to see my first client, and there was this man hanging out the window, naked, cussing at me. And he was like, blankety blank, I dare you to come in my house. Blankety blank, 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 blank. He was off. And I stood there. This is like my fourth day of work after graduating in my new job. Frozen. Frozen. Now, this is what I wanted everybody to get. There was no teaching in school that could prepare me for that moment,
mm.
right? He was threatening all sorts of stuff. I didn't know what he had. I just thought we better just get in the car and roll away. Well, not the best intervention for the worker, but that's exactly what we did. I got back in the car and we rolled away. And I was like, I don't know if I ever want to go back there. Now, this is one of my first clients.
Yeah.
So what I had to begin to do was I had to begin to be able to manage my thinking, what thoughts go through my head while someone is being out of control in front of me. I had to manage my emotional state, and I had to manage my communication so that I could get this person to go and do where I wanted him to do. Fast forward a year later, I roll up to the same unpredictable home. And this time he's in the middle of the street and he's got a knife at his wife's neck. And I'm like, really? We're going to start today like this? And I'm able to talk him down, not because I have new skills, because I
Mm,
have new mastery over who Suzanne is being in this moment.
yeah. I love that.
I'm able to now manage me, manage my internal, landscape so that I could exercise the knowledge, skills, talents, and treasures I learned in school, and I've since learned as I do this. So why I give you that example is that all of us have skills, talents, treasures, so much that can be valuable right now.
Yeah.
In order to powerfully access it, you and I are going to be required to manage our internal landscape, how we're thinking, what emotions we're dealing with, and we actually have to deal with them, what we're saying to ourselves and saying to others, what we're allowing to influence us and what we make it mean. We are required to learn how to manage those things personally and professionally so that we can get the result we want, i.e., the man put down the knife.
Yeah. Wow.
I got what I wanted, but I had to stay present, calm, manage my internal state, have two dialogues going on at the same time, like one, he crazy, two, right? I had to really, so this is what I'm talking about. It's a skill set that's required, but that one skill set, if you take it on in the middle of this, when the new normal arrives and things settle and become predictable, you will be amazed at what you will be able to handle in your business with ease, grace, and flow. Because you will have practiced, but you've built a new level of mastery.
Yeah. And I love that, right? So once again, is going back to consider, right, that all things are perfect, right?
Mhm.
Because it gives us the opportunity to grow into that other level of mastery. So I see that we have some comments out here. And so superstars, once again, we have none other than Suzan Hart, my mindset mastery mentor. She is a mindset mastery mentor. So if you have any questions, any challenges, any things that you're dealing with, or you simply just have a question for Suzan, go ahead and drop your question into the comment section below. So I see that we have some superstars out there this morning. We have Diane Smith. Thank you so much, Diane, for jumping on and joining us this morning. We have Jen Coker. Hi, Jen. Thank you so much for joining. And then I see that we have Cindy out there. And Cindy says, I am a visual communication specialist. I love it. I ignite the power of personal image to create a competitive edge. Thank you so much, Cindy,
I
for
love
going and dropping that into the comment section. And then we also have Charette out there. And Charette is the owner and founder of Management Made Easy, which helps to add foundation and structure to businesses. Thank you so much, Charette, for putting that information out there. We see we have Nisi Croft in the house. Great morning, Nisi. And I think I saw about Brother Bedford up there this morning. Great morning to you, Brother Bedford. I have to give him a shout out. He's doing some awesome
That's
things
right.
with the Power Networking brand. Him and George Fraser had an opportunity to just kind of touch bases this week. So shout out to you, my dear friend, and congratulations on all the stuff that you are doing. So one of the things that I wanted to ask Suzan, if you could just go a little bit deeper into this. So we talked about some of the ways, right, that the fear shows up. And it has us feeling stuck sometimes. Some people take flight, some people, stand still.
Yeah.
Okay. So what would be some of the ways that, because it's all about triggers, right? So, what would be some of the internal triggers that I think people can become present or aware to when fear is showing up? What are some of the ways that the unseemingly ways that it presents itself? Because I think we all know what fear looks like when we recognize it, right? But what
Right.
are the ways that it shows up that we might not really realize or understand that that's fair?
And I think, one of the things you're really talking about, Taria, is we all have this picture of fear. of us being frozen, sweating, heart racing, all those things. And yeah, that's one way fear shows up. But another way it shows up is very subtle, right? Very, very subtle. So part of what I want you to pay attention to is, are you in worry? It's the most interesting thing. And how you know you're in worry is you're not here, you're in the future, and you're having a dialogue. You do that? You ever do that, Tria?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Having a great conversation with yourself about what's not happened yet.
Yep.
That is fear and anxiety. That's a great clue, right? When you're in fear, you often look for fear. You look to validate fear. So if you're spending a lot of time watching the negative influencers,
wow,
right? Chances are you're looking for the stuff that's validating your emotional state. Wow, this is scary. Look, this is scary. Look, this is scary. Look at the communication you're having with people. Is it positive and uplifting, or is it about what is going to happen that's not good? Those are indicators that your fear of the unknown, the unpredictable, is running you right now. And as you look, I want you to be present to this as well. Don't make it right or wrong. Don't make it good or bad, because that's how we're socialized, right? Don't make it about weak or strong. Make it about, oh, look at me. There's a subtle amount of fear inside me, because that is the first step, is to actually recognize fear, anxiety, worry, sadness, anger, frustration, overwhelm. All those feelings is to first just be present to what's going on inside you. And if you can, put words to it. I feel this, I'm feeling that, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, I'm feeling this. And then the other part is to be present and allow it to wash over you. In my last interview, I told people when Suzanne get all these emotions, I just cry. I've done that since I was little. I cry, but tears is a emotional, energetic release, right? Because whatever emotion you're having inside you, right? If you don't allow it to release, it gets in you, right? It gets into you and it becomes discomfort. It becomes blocks. It comes out in other places, yelling at children, arguing with spouses, all those things, because what's happening is you're not actually coping with the energy that's running inside. So do what you need to do. It could be writing, it could be journaling, it could be crying, it could be going for a workout, it could be going for a run, it could be, it's one is to release the excess energy, because there's going to be an excess depending on how much fear or anxiety is going on. So I would say one is just be present to it and say, you know what, I just got to release this. So this is the thing. I am the crier in my family. Everybody knows I've been like that since I was little. But I'm also the person that gets over things like this.
After you get it out.
After I have my cry, I'm good. I'm like, what's that? Let's go. Right? I've released the energy that that's the part I'm not able to manage. So I've learned to allow it to flow. So it comes out in tears. I will go work out and it'll come out in whatever I choose to do, right? Now I'm releasing that energy. So that's the first part. The second part is now I'm conscious. You and I now have to figure out, how do we manage the influencers that is creating that energy that's not serving me? Do you guys get this?
Yeah.
Right? So I'm managing what I'm watching on social media. I'm managing what I'm watching on TV. I'm managing who I'm communicating with, what I'm reading. I am managing my exposure to the things that might put me back in that state. And we know when it begins to happen.
Yeah.
right? So for me, the next step is I've really got to begin to manage it. So I have been very particular about what I'm watching. So when I have a question, I go on, I research that question, I shut it down. What do
That's
I need to know? Research that question, shut it down. What kind of mask do I need to buy? What kind of this do I need to get? I just research questions and I shut it down. What's the latest update I need to know? Research it and shut it down. I'm not spending all my time in conversation. Now, everybody knows if you look at any post that Suzanne, the word COVID, what I'm not even gonna say it, is not in any of my posts. When I talk with my peers, we barely talk about that. We talk about where we're going, how can we serve each other. We're managing the influencing that we're having on each other. So that's my second thing. I'm managing my influencers. This is the game changer. The third thing you want to do, because you've got energy, because anytime we are in fear, anytime we have energy inside us, energy. It's now how are you going to use it?
mm,
So let's redirect it. Remember, I said, let's be the cup half full people and redirect that energy somewhere else. So it might be, what do I need to know to build a plan that's effective for my family? Right? I helped one of my clients do that. Anxiety, frustration, we got that out, we refocused, and it was like, what questions do you need to answer to build a plan that's effective, that makes you feel like you are back in control. You're in control. And so list of things that she needed to do, go off and do that. Spoke to her a few days later, how you feeling? Oh my gosh, I'm feeling so strong right now, because she created answers for herself. Don't wait for someone out there to do it. That's unpredictable. Take charge, take your power back and say, what is it that I need to know? How do I build a plan? She built a plan. She's like, woo, I'm good to go. Spoke to another client. Don't know what to do in business. All right, let's focus on what you do and what can happen. And instantly ideas started to flow, new pivot, and they're moving. So part of it is first of all, you got to know where you are. You got to manage your influences. But then the final thing you got to do is you got to go, where do I focus my energy? Because this is the thing. If you and I don't focus if I don't focus my mind somewhere else, my mind will go back to where I was.
yeah.
It will, because it has to be filled with something. That's why, when I talk about being intentional, setting goals, and anybody who works with me, we set 100 goals because I want people's mind occupied with intention, right? So your mind needs to be intentional. So if you just manage your fear and think it's not going to come back, if you don't shift your focus and give it a focus that is positive and forward moving, that you are in full control over, it's going to go back to that place of fear. It's going to go back to that place of anxiety. It's going to go back to that place of wherever. So for me, how I am managing is, what am I going to do? Right? Given that this is my situation, what can I do differently? Who can I support? Who can I help? Who can I reach out to? I'm setting clear goals to occupy my mind so that I can stay focused on where I'm going and be intentional about how I'm feeling.
And I think that that's so good. So thank you so much for sharing, right? Because one of the things, that you mentioned is, at this time, how do you still cast the vision? How do you stay out of worry and cast the vision? And so I know a lot of times what happens to people when they are, in that fear-filled place, right? They kind of lock up mentally, right? And they can't think about like the next steps. And that's where the standing still comes in. But if you remain present to always thinking about, what's the vision that I want to cast? Okay, so we're here now. This is what, like you said, this is what the situation is. I have no control over anything or anybody else but myself. So what are the things that I am going to do that would allow me to move towards the outcome that I want?
Absolutely.
how am I practicing, doing those things, every day? Who am I in conversation with that would keep me in that present space? And this is one of the things that I say. I just love my influencers. I just love my superstars because this is what keeps me grounded.
Yeah.
So all day, during the day in my business, nothing has changed for me in my business. My business is still, business as usual. And I am so grateful for that because, and one of the main reasons why I'm grateful for it is to be able to manage this. So it's even on those days when I might not be there 100% to get on the phone with you or to get on the phone, with Lithia and other influencers, people who are, I call them people who I journey with, right? The wonderful people that I'm journeying with. Sherette is out there, Colette is out there, Deborah is out there. I could name, people that I'm in conversation with almost every day. It's such a joy to see everyone, moving, forward towards that desired future despite
Absolutely.
what's going on. Okay. And so that in itself is very empowering. Okay. And
Mhm.
so you almost don't have time to worry about all the other stuff, right? You just keep laying the bricks, you just keep walking the path to where you want to go.
And a focused and intentional mind is a mind, it's like a laser, right? So part of it is really being intentional about
Yeah.
what you do, what your focus is on each day. And one of the things I really want to kind of speak to is we do the comparison of, we're seeing a lot on social media. There's conferences, there's
Mhm.
all sorts of stuff happening on. And you're probably wondering, ah, I can't do all that. That is okay. So this is kind of how survival works, because Maslow has a needs hierarchy,
Mhm.
right? The first one is food, clothing, shelter.
Yep.
So when anyone calls me and they're spinning and they're in worry, I'm not going to go into creation about a new idea. The first thing we go to is food, clothing, shelter.
Okay.
Roof over your head, clothing. That's not usually an issue for everybody. Roof over your head, food, warmth, clothing, all those sorts of things. Because this is why. That is our survival instinct.
Yeah.
So my first plan I have everyone build out for themselves is, what do you need to secure food, clothing, shelter? And where do you see a deficit? How do you need to adjust? And what can we put in place to ensure food, clothing, shelter?
Mm.
Once we have that in place, and that's where people are invited to get creative, right? What can you put in place? What can you do differently? What do we need to find? Do we need to find another 500? Do we need to find another this? All right, let's go to work and figure out where we find that. But the first thing is, let's secure food, clothing, shelter, and let's secure it in a way where you feel like, yep, this is happening. This is happening. Then once that is done, then the next thing is, what can we do?
Yeah.
So sometimes what we're calling the pivot is just to secure food, clothing, shelter. Very cool.
Yeah.
And if that's where you are, that is perfect.
Yeah, and I love that. And this leads right in to the next topic that I wanted to talk about, right? Because another interesting thing that I noticed, just as we were preparing to come on the show, I was listening to our local radio station here, and they had a call for entrepreneurs. Okay, so there's a, kind of a unique problem that's going on here in the island with the gas prices, and it's something that I didn't even think about, right? Like, how can our islands be so small, be so close together, and then one island, you has no trouble with gas prices, right? And then other islands, right? The gas prices are escalating. So I'm not going to bore you with the details and everything, but I listened to them put out a call for entrepreneurs, and they're actually saying, you know, who can help us solve this problem? And
Mm.
I said, you know what, this is so perfect. Hi, Marian, how are you? Thank you for jumping on this morning. Hi, Michael. This is so perfect because one of the things that, you know, that I'm looking at is how well are we able to uncover opportunities. So some of us, right, opportunities, you know, new opportunities are arising. So let me just say that, right? Some new opportunities, new territories, things that weren't open to you before are open to you now. Okay. So one is how to be able to prepare yourself to step in, you know, to those new opportunities. And then I think the second type of opportunities that I see is opportunities that are dormant, right? So you and I, we was just talking about people who have mad skills. They got skills,
Mhm.
okay? And they don't break, they won't. They're not breaking these skills out at this time, you know? And for me, trust me, if I had
Skills, they
that
got skills and resources.
and yeah, mm, right? But how do you, can you speak to that, right? So how do we at this time, you know, approach opportunity? Because once again, you know, it's new, it's a change, right? And we all know when something is new and something is changing, there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on with that. So new opportunities.
I think the one thing that I remind myself of, Turia, is when I first started looking at life differently, I realized that many people who were very, very, very successful, they created whatever they did as an answer to a problem in the often in the worst of times.
Mm-hmm.
That is what's inspiring me right now,
I love.
right? Is that there are people out there right now solving problems given their skills, their knowledge, their know-how, their ingenuity in the worst of times.
Yeah.
And so our tendency is to focus on, go with the masses and focus on what's working. So we'll call that the zig,
Yeah.
right? So everybody's zigging. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm inviting you to say, well, how can I zag? How can I not get caught in what everyone else is doing? And how can I zag? How can I not get caught in the worry, the fear, the sky is falling, all those things, and actually begin to go, what am I good at? What are
Yeah.
my gifts? What are my skills? What are my talents? What are my treasures? What have I done in the past that might be beneficial right now?
Yeah.
Everybody knows Suzanne got into entrepreneurship through network marketing. And when I looked at what was going on in the marketplace, I was like, oh, I got to go back and I got to pull that out because it is perfect for what's happening now. So I'm going to something I've done in the past and I'm bringing it forward. Also looking at what can I do now given the skills and talents I have. Is there something I can teach? Is there something I can do? So of course mindset is big right now because people are like, well, what do I do? So I'm using that skill. Speaking is really important right now because really all we have is our communication right now as we practice social distancing but wanting to be connected. So there's people also reaching out about speaking, and so working on those two things because I have those, I have those mad skills, right? We all have those mad skills. I know people who can sew. I know people who can do so many things. I have a friend, her knowledge of nutrition is beyond. So she's putting out educational videos and people are coming to her for to help them solve problems, and all natural. So, it's really taking your inventory. And this is the thing I also want people to really understand. Oftentimes, the thing that you do in your sleep that you dismiss as no one needs this is exactly what a whole group of people need,
People need,
right? Just because it is easy to you,
right?
just because you're like, who would need that? It's the thing that people need. So I have a friend, so's mad crazy all the time, all the time. So like I call my mom and I call it hot needle and burning thread, right? Trina? You know what I
Uh-huh. I'm
hot
very
needle and
familiar.
burning thread sewing machine. And and when I called, I said, "Are you making masks?" And they said no. And I was like, "Okay, but there's a shortage,
Yeah.
and you have mad skills,
Hmm.
and you got nothing to do,
Yeah.
right?" And it is a question.
Yeah.
It's a question. And so it is, you know, it's a simple, she may think of it as a simple skill, but it's a skill. And right now it is timely,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I was wishing for, I live border country. And I last week I said, you know, I just wish some farmer would deliver groceries, fresh vegetables. The next day I got a flyer, email, fresh vegetables delivered to your doorstep once a week. I was like, oh, look at that entrepreneur,
That's how it works, right? And
right?
so if things aren't coming, and this is the way how I look at it, right? Like you said, we all have those mad skills, right? And sometimes things will be so obvious to us that we need to do, oh, I could show up this way, I could show up more powerfully this way. And then other times things are not so obvious. So one of the things that I'm so glad, and I tell everyone this, that you challenge me with at the beginning of the year. So I tell people my pivot actually didn't start with the pandemic. Okay. My pivot started way before then, or way back when I can't, I say it all the time and I smile, but once again, things are so perfect. Like, how do you lay out and just be ready to slay 2020, right? Like, yes, I'm ready. And then everything just, said, nope, that's not what we're doing in 2020. Let me show you what we're going to do. Right. And then you challenge me to just ask one simple question. And that question was my pivot, right? How can I serve? And how can I serve more? And when I tell you, we had that conversation and it started with me picking up the phone, right? And like you said, going belly to belly, right? And having those conversations. But I've taken it a step further. It's become my mantra when I wake up in the morning. So it's like one of the things that I pray for, like, God, please show me, how I can serve today, who I can serve today, how can I serve more today. And the thing about it is that's so interesting is that it's coming,
Yeah, of course.
right? And it's coming, and it's just like, oh my gosh. And it gives so much joy, gives so much fuel, right? And when I tell you, it's like my day is full, but it's full in a good way. Like when I lay down, trust me, I sleep very well. Okay.
And and let's look,
I feel spent, but it's good,
yeah, absolutely. And let's look at that for a moment. Because the beauty in that is everybody's on social media right now.
Yeah.
Everybody, conferences, this, that, the other. Everybody's on social media. The zag is, I'm going to pick up the phone,
A heart to heart
have
conversation.
a heart to heart
check,
conversation.
Checking on people and how are you really doing, because here's the thing, and I'm just going to say this because it's so important, and I realize this, like we talk about social media and I know people are going to say, like, how are you going to say that, and you're a social media strategist. I'm going to say it because it's so important, and these are the things I look at: the emotional side, of social media. I look at the psychological side of social media. It is so easy, once again, like you said, to get caught up in the comparison game, right? And so you're looking at people doing everything, and then you're feeling like, oh my gosh, you have to do everything too. And then once again, running ahead, right? Like if I don't do these things or if I don't follow the masses, that equates to business death. Okay. And it's like, no, that's not what it's, really about. Because I guarantee you, a lot of people are forward facing on social media, but they still miss the opportunity to get in the real conversations, to get in the real connecting, with people and finding those people who they are called to serve. And I'm just gonna say this: it's such a game changer, okay, when you know, right, exactly who you are called to serve, and you make that commitment. Like I say, instead of going wide, right, you make the commitment to go deep. So that's another thing that was placed on me at this time. So many times we're out there, we're reaching, right, but it's not really to reach in the quantity and the masses, right, but it's to take a look at who you're connected with. Okay. And how do you go deeper in those relationships? How do you do more with the current network that you have? Okay. How are you coming together, right, to create solutions, for your audience, create solutions for your network? Okay. And those things don't always have to be big things. People think, like, when we talk about doing that stuff, it shows up like, oh, it has to be a conference or something huge. I love the way you and I work, right? We work, say, hey, look, this is the particular individual that we're going to focus on, right? And then we're going to help this individual build this and then do this, okay? And then the focus is, instead of being, wide and fleeting, it goes deep, and then people get more, of us. So I just had to go ahead and say that, because that's my challenge out there, for everyone who's watching. How can you go deeper in the relationships that you have?
I want to just make the connection between the two, right? Because this is the interesting thing. One of the reasons I invited you to pick up the phone and start calling and asking the simple question, how can I serve, was because you were on social media and you
Mm,
had a following and you had people that were connecting with you. And I really want everyone to get this via social media, because if you're watching, chances are you have a following. You have people that you have, connections. And so I see people in my group, one of the reasons they're working with me, not because they opted into something on social media. They were following me. They were communicating with me online,
mm,
but one day they got a message from Suzanne, hey, are you open to a conversation, a phone call?
yeah,
And that phone call took it from online
yeah,
to offline. And in offline, I was able to create depth. I was able to go, how can I truly serve you? What are you looking for? Tell me more about what you do. Da 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 da. And so for me, we look at them as two separate worlds, but this creates this and this creates this, right? So social media creates all, the belly to belly beautiful conversation, and the belly to belly, we often create someone following you on social media. They are not separate. And I think it's really understanding the timing. So the reason picking up the phone is key for me, and my challenge is to talk to 20 people a week,
yeah.
right? So um, and my phone has been hot, let me tell you. This is the reason I looked at it. People are home
Yeah,
and people have needs
yeah.
and people have concerns that they're not going to express in the same way on social media. So to pick up the phone and go, hey, what's going on, how can I serve you, it's going to do one two things. They're going to tell me, and I might be able to speak to the answer to that, or they're going to remember that I made the phone call in the middle of a bad, not so great situation, and was like, hey, what are you doing, how can I serve you?
Yeah. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah, because that's really and truly, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I see that we have, Charette says, our gifts and talents have value too. And for others, God gave them to us to share, serve, and shine.
I
Oh,
love
thank you
I
so much
love
for that,
that.
Charette. And Marion is out there saying, be open to the opportunities to be active and shine with where you are and what you are gifted with. That is so true. And then she puts manifestation. And that's what it's all about, right? Is to look internally, because Marion is so true. Charette is so true. We all have talents, gifts, and abilities, right? And how are we using those abilities, our talents, and our gifts as we truly walk along life's journey? All right. And Suzanne, I can't believe it. We are at the top of the hour
I
already. So,
know.
so I'm going to just ask you very briefly, because I think I just saw this from Cindy. And Cindy wants you to talk a little bit more about internal landscape. Okay. So you mentioned earlier managing your internal landscape. So if you can speak to that, for Cindy, really briefly before we wrap it up, and then I'll let you tell everyone how you could connect with them, how they can connect with you.
Absolutely. So, my internal landscape is the things that create my external way of being, right? How I show up in the world, how I speak to the world. And so, taking care of my internal landscape is being present to my thoughts. And when I tell people being present to your thoughts, they're like, what? And I go, just listen to yourself. And if you start listening to yourself when you're not being intentional, you'll hear all your unresolved stuff. All the stuff that is bothering you will be rattling around because you'll be talking about it to yourself. Because an unfocused mind will have conversations that you'll be like, oh, why are we talking about that? If you start listening. So to manage your thoughts is to catch those and start having thoughts that are empowering. Start having, like, intentionally having thoughts that are empowering, having thoughts that are forward moving, having thoughts that, and we're never going to be able to eliminate the stuff that doesn't serve us, but we can diminish it or at least be aware of it. So we're not speaking it into existence. So I'll catch myself, I'm about to say something and I'll shift it because I'm like, that I don't want to create that in the world. The second thing you want to do in terms of managing your internal landscape is to always be present to how you're feeling and attempt to put words to it. I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm fearful, I'm so, like, really start to name it for yourself so that you're conscious of it. And you're conscious of what is the emotion that's running you right now. Because once you're conscious of it, you can now shift your thinking, which will help shift your emotions, but then you can shift your language, what you speak about, and that'll shift your behavior. But when we are not conscious of our emotional state, it becomes our emotions that make our decisions. That's called reacting. That is not responding. That is reacting. That is not choosing. That is reacting. So most people go through the world reacting from this place of emotion. So, and their emotions are running their life, not choice, not conscious choice. So part of when I say, managing your internal landscape is being present to how your thoughts and emotions are working together and how they're creating your communication and how they're creating what you speak and do in the world. And so it's always being present to, am I moving from my emotional state, reaction, or am I moving from a place of choice, responding, and being responsible for managing thought, emotion, and communication?
Wow. So good. So Cindy, I hope, well, I don't even have to hope because I know that answered the question, and I hope that helps you move just forward a little bit more. So Suzanne, before we go ahead and we wrap it up, I know that you have a mindset mastery conversation. Right?
Absolutely.
Mindset mastery moment. So please tell my superstars, right, how they can connect with you and take advantage of your mindset mastery moments.
Absolutely. So you can connect with me a few ways. Of course, most people know I'm on social media right here on Facebook at Suzan Hart. If you want a mindset mastery moment, you can reach out to me on Messenger and just mention Sharia's name.
Well, actually, they could do is just type mindset mastery moment right in the comment section.
There
Okay.
we go.
Go ahead, type it in the comment section.
That's why she's my social media strategist. Okay. Just type it in the comment section. We will hook you up. And what I've been doing is just spending 30 minutes really going, how can I serve you? And pouring into people around some challenge or block they're having as a result of what's going on. You can also go to SuzanneHart.com, and we have a mindset mastery mini course, 7 days, that will actually go deeper into the question that Cindy asked. How do you manage your internal landscape? And it breaks down all the 4 areas of mastery that we all are required to attend to. So SuzanneHart.com, and Suzanne is Suzan, Hart is Hart. I like everything short, obviously. SuzanneHart.com, and it's right there on the main page. Just register for the mini course and enjoy.
I always have to smile every time you spell your name, and instead of saying Z, you say Z. You remind me so much of my grandmother. You know, she's on the British side, and so Z's were Z, zeros were not. Like,
Right. I'm a Canadian Trini.
yes, my grandma, she was from the British side, you know, of the Virgin Islands. So it just tickles me every time I hear you. You just make me smile, you know, and well, once again, superstars, thank you so much for joining another amazing episode of Social Media Saturdays. And once again, if you would like to have the opportunity to have a 30-minute conversation with Suzan Hart, just go ahead and type Mindset Mastery Moment into the comment section. And then I will make sure that you get the link so you could schedule your session. And let me tell you, it's nothing to sneeze at, okay? Suzan, like I said, she's amazing. She's wonderful. She, you know, I've had the pleasure to work with her, you know, for what is going on 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then also just watching her do amazing work with other influencers, you know, in this space as well is just absolutely amazing. So you definitely want to be able to take advantage of that. And don't forget, you could follow her on all social media at Suzan Hart. Okay. So SuzanHart.com is the website. Suzan Hart on Instagram. Yes, she is on Instagram. Suzan Hart on LinkedIn, Suzan Hart on Twitter. Okay. And with that being said, superstars, I will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sharia. Good night, everyone.